In primitive war, dinosaurs take the stage as antagonists or as forces of opposition. Many different iconic genera or species of dinosaur, some well known to the public, others more obscure and recently discovered, appear in the franchise across 4 different books, 5 if you include the bestiary. Today, this video takes a slightly different approach by asking the question of what dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals should appear next in the Primitive War franchise. Hello everyone, this is Saberx, and in this video we will be covering the characters, creatures, and plots of books and films such as the Primitive War franchise, the Inheritance Cycle, and so much more. So, without further ado, welcome, one and all. In the Primitive War franchise's novels, written by author Ethan Pettis, there have been many different iconic dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals, ranging from fearsome predators like Tyrannosaurus rex, Carcharodontosaurus, and Utahraptor, to name a few. A couple more species not seen in the books have also appeared in the movie, such as Spinosaurus. Herbivores like Triceratops, Parasaurolophus, and Therizinosaurus are more iconic species that have also made debuts throughout the franchise's books. But what other interesting dinosaurs could possibly appear in the story? Well, we know for a fact that there are some dinosaurs slated to appear in the 5th book in the franchise, which will probably be another volume of the Primitive War dispatches. Ethan himself has already stated he is working on Primitive War 3, but is more focused on releasing new volumes of the dispatches that lead up to the events of this next volume while he develops the plot of the aforementioned sequel. Among other dinosaurs he has either confirmed or hinted at, Utahraptor will be returning for the franchise as far as is known, and the new megatheropod for Primitive War 3 will likely be Saurophaganax, aka Allosaurus anax. Smilodon is also confirmed as far as I'm aware, though this could have been changed. If Smilodon is still appearing in Primitive War 3, it will be the first prehistoric mammal within the franchise to make an appearance. Indeed, at this point, it's hard to know what new prehistoric dinosaurs and other types of prehistoric wildlife will be appearing in the next novel, and as books are being written, changes to the roster are inevitable. For the purposes of this video, I would like to make a list of possible suggestions and hypothetical creatures that could potentially appear in the franchise moving forward, provided Ethan himself approves them. First up, Spinosaurus. Given that it has already appeared in the film, Spinosaurus seems like it should have its own place within the novels of the franchise. Indeed, several fans have made suggestions that it should be in the books of the franchise. Given its unique appearance and semi-aquatic nature, Spinosaurus would be a most interesting addition to the roster. It would also present a unique threat to the characters of Primitive War. Being amphibious, it can move about quite well on land and even better in water. It may not be as powerful as Tyrannosaurus rex, but it does have the potential to be longer, and if this isn't enough, the diet of Spinosaurus would have included small to medium-sized terrestrial prey in addition to the large fish it would have normally preferred to eat. This could have easily included human-sized animals, and indeed humans themselves if they weren't able to get out of its way, if this dinosaur were to appear in Primitive War's next novel. I could easily see a scene, not unlike that in Jurassic Park 3 where a Spinosaurus attacks a boat full of people on the water, but with the added effect of it charging underwater in the same manner as a hippo. Given how dangerous and fast hippos are underwater and how big a bow wave they create when they charge, I could see a similar scene happening with a Spinosaurus, but on a much grander scale, considering that Spinosaurus was roughly the weight of an African elephant. I could also imagine an entire platoon of soldiers trying to open fire on an angry Spinosaurus with their bullets, having little to no effect on the animal, considering the limited reach and effectiveness of bullets in water. Next on our list of possible dinosaurs that could appear in the novels of the franchise is a giant herbivore, one that has already appeared in the Primitive War movie, Dreadnoughtus. Given its huge size, seeing this dinosaur roam the landscape would make for quite an impressive scene. It would also be interesting to see such a dinosaur such as this actively instigating a fight. Sauropods are often thought of as gentle giants, but the reality is an animal the size of an entire herd of elephants could be extremely dangerous. Given that such an immense dinosaur would also be far less intelligent than an elephant, the potential for aggression is exceedingly high. This would be particularly true if a male of this particular dinosaur was undergoing hormonal changes as a result of breeding season. Given what we saw Dreadnoughtus do in documentaries like Prehistoric Planet, I think it would be incredible to see a stampeding male Dreadnoughtus demolish a military unit, vehicles and all, like it was nothing. A dinosaur this size would be almost impossible to bring down, and even the heaviest hunting rifles would have little effect on them due to their sheer size. Nothing short of artillery could stop a 40-plus ton sauropod going berserk from increased testosterone. This, combined with the formidable power in its legs, neck, and tail, would make it an absolutely devastating force of nature. If irritated enough, it would probably also not hesitate to bite. And while sauropods are not known for their incredible jaw strength, the idea of an angry bull sauropod picking up a man in its jaws and crunching down out of pure frustration over not finding a mate is certainly one that I would like to see written on the page. It certainly was very effective in the 1933 King Kong film, so why couldn't it work for Primitive War? Another dinosaur that I myself thought might make a nice addition is Gastonia. Gastonia is a relatively small but heavily armored ankylosaur that lived alongside Utahraptor, which is largely the main dinosaur antagonist for all the Primitive War novels. Gastonia was covered in armored spikes and blades made of bone. Indeed, paleontologist Jim Kirkland has suggested that the bladed spikes on its tail could have worked almost like a chainsaw or a pair of scissors, slicing, stabbing, and cutting anything caught between them. Indeed, given the abundance of remains of this dinosaur in the Cedar Mountain Formation of Utah, it seems as though it was largely immune from attack by Utahraptor. Imagine then what could happen if Gastonia was itself present for a novel in Primitive War, with characters getting caught between the angry living chainsaw and a Utahraptor trying to kill and eat the humans. The brutality of such a scene would be eye candy for fans of the series. A perfect alternative to Gastonia is Spicomelus. This dinosaur is a unique Jurassic ankylosaur with the most extreme spikes of any member of the family ever found. It is quite literally the walking pincushion of doom. Spicomelus lived during the late Jurassic in what is now Africa. Its armor was also so extreme that the spikes of bone that it relied on to defend itself from predators were literally fused to its ribs and many of its vertebrae. This also would have meant that it was not as maneuverable as other members of its family that would evolve later on, but virtually no predator save for the most determined and perhaps absolutely suicidal would even try to go after it. If this dinosaur was to be put into the Primitive War franchise, it would prove to be a formidable obstacle, especially if it was as short-tempered and aggressive as many modern herbivores often are. Could you imagine a walking pincushion with the grudge of a Cape buffalo stumbling across a group of soldiers and deciding, "Hey, you looked at me funny. You're dead." I know that isn't something I would want happening to me. Another dinosaur I would like to suggest as being perfect for the Primitive War franchise is none other than Maip macrothorax, whom I show here in one of my personal illustrations. This large dinosaur, a member of the family Megaraptora, is arguably one of the most heavily armed carnivorous dinosaurs imaginable, quite literally. Like all its relatives within that family, it had long, powerful arms which it could use to swipe and slash at prey, disemboweling them with the huge claws on its hands. The thumb claw on these animals was upwards of perhaps almost 2 feet long, and this isn't even counting the keratin sheath that would have covered the claw. This could have made the claw as much as 1/3 longer at least. At 10 meters or 33 feet long and probably weighing in at 3 to 5 tons, it is the largest described member of its family, and it's possible that there were many adults that grew even larger, perhaps even up to 40 feet long, giving size variation in any population. If that isn't enough, Maip was quite fast, and it would have been agile enough that it could chase down whatever it wanted in open pursuit. Given that these dinosaurs are believed to be the sister family to tyrannosaurs based on the latest evidence, or at the very least giant saurosaurs, this shouldn't be surprising. Indeed, I see it as a perfect alternative for being the main antagonist for at least one Primitive War novel over Utahraptor. Because while I love Utahraptor, sometimes I think it takes up the spotlight a little too much in the franchise. Imagine a dinosaur that could potentially be just as nasty in the franchise, but with a little extra size mounted on, and with even more mobile hands and arms. Likewise, this same dinosaur could be used to evoke the same type of terror that we see in the 9th episode of Season 1 of Primal by Genndy Tartakovsky, where a similar dinosaur, a fictional species known as the Night Feeder, graphically and gruesomely kills an entire herd of ceratopsians and a smilodon. Maip could therefore act as the monster in the dark in such a scenario, effectively acting as a dinosaur boogeyman, perhaps even acting as something that even Utahraptor would fear to the point of fleeing the scene if they could smell it or heard its call. You don't need much more than that to imagine what a dinosaur like this could do to characters in the Primitive War novels if they were to encounter them. Yet another dinosaur I think would be great to appear in the Primitive War franchise would be one of the more unusual ceratopsians. Given how many different horned dinosaurs there are, this list is quite long, but I personally would like to narrow it down to one genus in particular, Pentaceratops. With its massive frill, the largest of any horned dinosaur proportionate to body size, this animal would be absolutely spectacular to see, even as a background animal. Its horns are also no joke, as they were strong enough and sharp enough to repel even the fierce predators of its environment, such as the Tyrannosaur bistahi eversor. It may not have been the biggest ceratopsian, but it certainly has an imposing stature to it. It was also one of the largest ceratopsians, if not the largest ceratopsian in its environment, which would have been prehistoric Utah some 76 million years ago. The next prehistoric creature I would be interested in seeing appear in the Primitive War franchise isn't even a dinosaur, but a prehistoric mammal, and arguably one of the nastiest prehistoric mammals that has ever existed. Daeodon. Often referred to as the Terminator pig, Daeodon was an entelodont, the size of an American bison, and weighed just as much, and during the Miocene was a top predator in North America, with some of the best fossil material of this animal being recovered from Agate Springs, Nebraska. It was built for short bursts of rapid speed, not unlike those of a grizzly bear. Its massive head, meanwhile, was filled with huge canines and crushing molars built to shear not only through meat and tough vegetation, but also for cracking bone to access marrow. Many of the animals that were included in its diet included early camels, rhinos, and giant relatives of horses known as calicotheres. Despite its moniker as a Terminator pig, Daeodon was more closely related in actuality to hippos and whales, though it must be said that pigs are still technically their cousins. Like a pig, it would have had cloven hooves for feet. With all this in mind, it would have been an absolute nightmare for any animal that it shared its environment with, and it would be hell on hooves for any characters in the Primitive War franchise were they to encounter it. The very idea of a Daeodon actively hunting humans would make for a chilling plot point in any future book of the Primitive War franchise, especially since it has been confirmed by way of CT scans that Daeodon and its close relatives would have possessed a very powerful sense of smell. A Terminator pig tracking the unfortunate humans it decided it wanted for lunch and always staying out of range of their guns until it saw the right opportunity to lay an ambush would make for a suspenseful scene, especially if the animal kept calling out to alert them to its presence to keep them on their toes and to keep them moving until they dropped dead of exhaustion. Furthermore, it would also be hard to take down with rifles. Many caliber of military weapons might not even be able to effectively bring down a Daeodon, as you need high-caliber rounds meant for hunting large animals like bison and elephants in order to effectively stop them in their tracks when they decide to charge. Similarly, another prehistoric mammal that would be right at home in the Primitive War franchise would probably be Simba Kubwa. This massive predator, as large as a polar bear at maximum size, was a close relative of the better-known hyenodon and lived in what is now Kenya in eastern Africa. With jaws like a guillotine and self-sharpening teeth that could lingually rotate in order to maintain their cutting edge, this is an animal that could continue to remain in peak or near peak physical condition even into old age, as examinations of its close relative hyenodon clearly show. The very idea of one of these creatures hunting and killing characters in the Primitive War franchise would also be quite terrifying to think about, let alone see described in the novels. With its unique dentition, Simba Kubwa would probably be able to bite off a man's arm so fast and efficiently he wouldn't even know it was gone until he saw it in the creature's mouth, and his blood spraying all over the ground. Additionally, hyenodonts of any species were generally very good at crushing and digesting bone, so if one of these animals got its hands on a human and managed to kill it, they would leave nothing behind to find, save perhaps for a bloody smear on the ground. The last species I would like to suggest for the Primitive War franchise for this video is neither a dinosaur nor a mammal, but a prehistoric snake. And no, it's not Titanoboa or even Vasuki indicus, which tie for the largest known snakes in existence. No, what I speak of is an Australian snake species that is quite obscure, and perhaps because of that obscurity, it could be equally as terrifying. The snake I refer to is called Yorlungur. This snake, a member of the extinct family known as Matsoids, was more primitive and larger than many modern snakes alive today. Indeed, it is estimated to have been between 6 to 8 meters long, which is similar in size to the largest Burmese and reticulated pythons, as well as the anaconda, which may or may not have outweighed it. Jorlungur was native to Australia during the Oligocene and Miocene epochs, and, like other members of its family, could not expand its jaws to the same degree as modern pythons and boas. Some of its close relatives had large, sharp teeth which have been compared to those of monitor lizards, so perhaps it was feeding on other animals in a similar way, using razor-sharp serrated teeth to cut flesh rather than to swallow its prey whole. Until we have better specimens of this particular snake, we cannot say for sure, but the very idea of a snake tearing its prey to pieces, possibly while it's still alive instead of swallowing it whole, is in many ways more terrifying than what most modern large snakes amongst the boa and python families do, where they squeeze their prey until it dies of internal hemorrhaging and crushed bones. As such, the very idea of this snake pinning down a character in the Primitive War franchise and then eating him alive piece by piece is almost too horrible to contemplate. And having seen my own pet spotted python, Uluru, once do that to a thawed-out mouse, I can attest to how brutal it is. As such, I think it's safe to say that Jorlungur would be an absolutely perfect piece of nightmare fuel to add to a future novel for Primitive War. So there you have it. 9 different animals I think would be perfect for Primitive War's novels, and all equally impressive or terrifying. Each one would make for a pretty impressive antagonist or obstacle of any variety, and characters in the franchise would be hard-pressed to fight them and survive. As such, I think they would make suitable dinosaurs or other prehistoric animals for any upcoming book in the franchise. With this in mind, I would like to end this video here and ask you to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. Such actions are always greatly appreciated because the more people who subscribe increase the channel's popularity, thereby allowing more people to watch it. As always, thank you again for watching, and see you next time.